Across Middle Tennessee, wherever it is across this great country or internationally. If you're streaming 104.5 The Zone, we're so pleased to have you here with us from 10 until 1. Lucas is here. I'm going to be with you, of course, for the next 3 hours. We got a bunch of stuff to do today. Kevin Dyson going to join us coming up next. Titans great. And what should we say? One of the people who should be in the Ring of Honor. Because that's what we're going to get into with Professor Dyson on the other side. But in the meantime, a lot of stuff to discuss. A big announcement today that I'm excited to tell you more about that we have going on with The Zone. New content. And we'll play some of that for you. My new podcast with Greg Cosell later on in the show. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved over the course of this morning and into this afternoon. 615-737-1045. So, the biggest thing to result out of yesterday, though, before we get into the Titans conversation, a preview of the AFC South that we have prepared for you, and analysis on Ryan Tannehill, whether he's actually a system quarterback or not. Spicy. The NBA Finals, Game 4 in Milwaukee. The series now even at 2 apiece. Now, I came into these finals, I don't want to say not terribly engaged, but there was something about the way that this postseason has gone with all of the injuries that have taken place and the lack of, I don't want to say names that we recognize because we're dealing with the two-time MVP on one side and Chris Paul, the point guard, on the other side. So it's not like these are names that we didn't know, but as far as the last 5-6 years of basketball, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Golden State Warriors, all of these name brands, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Los Angeles Lakers, they did not live up to the billing over the course of the year. And there's plenty of reasons for that, mostly because of the injuries. So I was kind of going into this finals like, even though it was different, it was something new. This is the biggest criticism of the NBA, that their postseason is as predictable as any in sports. It's kind of like college football that way, where you know who the best teams are because the best teams have the most talent. And in the NBA, in the sport of basketball, it's a lot easier to overwhelm people with talent when you only have 5 players on the court for any given side. But I wasn't juiced about it, especially when the Suns went up 2-0, because I'm like, this is going to be decided in short fashion, especially during the Eastern Conference Finals when Giannis, I thought his knee blew up. I thought he was done. I thought that every ligament in there just straight up popped. And then he comes back and is putting out 40-point performances and leading his team back to tie this series up with an otherworldly block that was reminiscent of LeBron James in 2016 that had that kind of feel to it if you watched the game last night. Now we actually have a series. Now, the cliche, in the NBA at least, is how it goes, is you don't have a series until one team wins a game on the road. So far, that hasn't happened yet. But I could not have enjoyed what I watched last night more, and I'm optimistic about what we're getting ready to see. Because now, I think the Bucks specifically, they've kind of tried to let Giannis dominate without having any real strategy around him. When you look at the Bucks roster, whether it's Chris Middleton, whether it's Drew Holiday, guys who aren't, complete offensive players in the sense that you need them to be in today's game. Whereas Giannis is so dominant at what he does well, but is not the prototypical star. He doesn't have a perimeter game, really. His free throw percentage has been better in these finals, and certainly since he's, taking 15 seconds to warm up before the free throw that he takes, seems to have helped him, whether he's on the road or at home. And as much as I enjoy the Suns fans, the way they count him down every time to see if they can't get him a violation or a foul for the amount of time that it takes him to shoot the damn free throw. But I watch the Bucks, and in the first 2 games, they looked discombobulated despite what Giannis was doing, despite what Giannis was able to individually accomplish. And it felt like they were just kind of rolling the ball out there. I think that there wasn't as much strategy as you see from a team like the Suns, where, I mean, I watched the highlight the other day on SportsCenter, Lucas, of a Suns play where I swear to God there were 9 passes before somebody took a shot. Like, this is the kind of ball movement that people would obsess over the Spurs teams for, when the Spurs weren't overwhelming you with talent, but they played in such unison together that it was a more pure form of basketball. That's what I'm watching from the Suns right now, because a lot of these guys, for Phoenix, they recognize their roles. They understand what it is that they have to do. They are not hunting shots across the board in a way that might disrupt the movement of the ball, the flow of the game, the flow of their offense in particular. They're allowing guys like Devin Booker to eat. And I mean, Devin Booker, we can talk about whether the NBA made a call, whether Adam Silver got on the phone to keep Devin Booker from fouling out last night en route to him breaking an NBA Finals record. He had 42 last night to break the record for the most points in an NBA player's first playoffs, 542 points for Devin Booker so far in these playoffs. And it's facilitated because the Suns play a really, really high-level form of basketball without being able to overwhelm you with talent. We know what Devin Booker is. We know what Chris Paul is, understanding that we're seeing a higher level from DeAndre Ayton. And I think that he still has room to grow, which is insane. By the way, you look at DeAndre Ayton. How old do you think DeAndre Ayton is, Lucas?
Just judging from how long ago it was that he was the number 1 pick, I'd say 22.
He's 22. Does
Okay.
DeAndre, if you Google me a picture of DeAndre Ayton right now, was there anything about the way that
42.
dude looks that he look? I mean, Greg Oden is another one of these that came into the league looking like he was 85 as a 21-year-old. DeAndre Ayton is absolutely one of these people. Like, I think that DeAndre Ayton is lying to us. There's no way that somebody that looks like that is 22 years old.
I did not know he was from the Bahamas.
Yes. Oh, well, I don't want to get into how it is that DeAndre Ayton came to play basketball in the United States, because then we might end up with Sean Miller
Yeah.
on an HBO documentary.
He had a pretty penny.
615-737-1045. But he looks like Greg Oden's son, says Kerry Benford. I mean, he really does. If you hold a picture of Greg Oden when he got drafted into the NBA up against DeAndre Ayton, it's crazy. Now, the good thing about, like, I suffer from this too. Like, I've looked 40 since I was 13, basically since I hit puberty. But I'm hoping that because since I started looking old, and DeAndre Ayton, since he started looking old, Greg Oden the same, that we will look younger when we get older, because everybody else will age worse than we are because we've already aged. That's what I'm rooting for. 615-737-1045. Jim is in Nashville. He wants to talk about the NBA Finals. What's up, Jim?
Hey, Buck, what's going on? Hey, I wanted to see if you could elaborate on the NBA ratings, like their decrease. Do you have any input on that?
I haven't seen numbers, Jim. I really haven't, and I would have. I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't want to give you some kind of false narrative on that, because there are any number of reasons that people assign to the ratings being down in the NBA. I have some theories on that myself, but Lucas said it just told me in my ear that he's got some information.
I can tell you that more people in the U.S. watched the Euro Final Sunday between Italy and England than have averaged watching the NBA Finals.
Okay, do you have do we have overnight ratings for last night's Game 4 yet? I know that Channel 5 locally, News Channel 5 is usually pretty good about that.
Last
I know
night I don't
have.
I know 8.9 million on average have watched the first 4 games of the NBA Finals, where about 9.5 million watched that Euro Final on Sunday.
So I think with the NBA, and listen, there is a polarization to the NBA, and I don't want to get into like a why people don't like the NBA type conversation. I think Jim, though, does ask a valid question. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the conversation. My theory with the NBA is that the audience for basketball, because what Tomahawk Chop says in the comments on Zone TV, where you can watch the show and hang out with us in studio on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, and Twitch, if you so choose. Tomahawk Chop says the NBA is a dying league. Now, I don't agree with that whatsoever, because the television contracts continue to go up, because live sports rights will always come at a premium, even if the ratings don't indicate that they should come at the price point that you think, or that they're being rolled out with, right?
I do enjoy people that think that a league is a dying league because they do not watch that league.
Well, there is that. But I mean, I'm not Like, I'm not going to yell at people about that today. You know what I'm saying? Because I do think that there's a trend in basketball with the audience in basketball being younger. And honestly, when you talk to people about the NBA, there's so few people that actually watch the games. Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, honestly, for highlights, I feel like that's the way that a lot of people are consuming the NBA. They're not actually watching the games. They just associate with the star power, whether it's LeBron James or Chris Paul or, Devin Booker is starting to – Devin Booker, my girlfriend knows who Devin Booker is solely because of the Kardashian effect. Pop culture has a big effect on the NBA, to which she knows, oh, look, Chloe. She doesn't call him Devin Booker. She calls him no, not Chloe. Which one does Devin Booker date? It's not a Kardashian sister. It's a what is the subset? The subset of
the Kardashians.
You know what I'm talking about. The Jenners, see? You know what I'm talking about. What else am I supposed to say?
Is it Caitlyn?
It's not. No. What do you mean?
I don't know, man.
She's too busy running for governor of California. You know that Caitlyn Jenner is I don't even know. The mother in the situation of the Jenner family, even though she's not technically the mother. Kris is the mother. So Caitlyn is formerly Bruce Jenner.
Yes.
So you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Why are you making this harder on me than it needs to be?
Oh, now that would make headlines.
Oh my God.
Oh, who am I? Kendall. I'm thinking of
Kendall. Yes, thank you, Lucas. Thank you for all of your contributions, all of your good work to the radio show today. 13 minutes in, rolling on this Thursday.
Oh, man.
Yes, Devin Booker and Caitlyn Jenner. He's out here campaigning for her to be the next governor of California. 615-737-1045. It's Kylie. We didn't even have that part right. Thank you, Corey Thomas on YouTube. Yes, Lonzo, that was what I've just had to explain to Lucas, that Caitlyn Jenner is, in fact, Bruce Jenner, for the artist formerly known as Bruce Jenner.
I was thinking of Kendall. I had Kendall in my mind when I said Caitlyn, but would that not be way more, just newsworthy?
Oh, sure. But that's not what's happening, Lucas. That's not where I was going. And now you've completely derailed how I wanted to start the show with NBA Finals. We'll get to – this is a great way to welcome in Kevin Dyson, who will join us coming up next. Let's get to Darrington in Nashville first and foremost, who says I have blasphemed. Against what have I blasphemed this morning, Darrington? Hello.
Morning, sir. Hey, has anyone ever told you kind of look like a young Mike Vrabel?
No.
Let's tell Vrabel that.
I think Vrabel would throat punch you if you said that to him, but I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah, so this blasphemy you hear, see, I love basketball, and I watch it. And shout out to the WNBA for the All-Star game they did yesterday. Totally amazing.
Yes.
You compared Giannis's block on an alley-oop dunk to LeBron James. That's nothing even close to it. I'm tired of people putting Giannis in the same breath as the King. I'm going to need some respect. It was an alley-oop that he turned around and had plenty of time to recuperate of. If he's the defensive player of the year that the media has so-called voted him, which I don't think, because he does not check the best player when it's time. So it was a block set up for two. And, I just don't like the comparison with Giannis and LeBron. Hey, have at it, Buck.
Thank you, Darrington. 615-737-1045. Yeah, I think the biggest blasphemy this morning might so far be him telling me I look like a young Mike Vrabel.
I love Darrington.
We love all the people that listen and call into the show. 615-737-1045. Maybe we'll get back to the finals later on in our analysis of the Jenner Kardashian family tree. Perhaps we will save that for a later segment. But in the meantime, we got a Ring of Honor to talk about. Jeff Fisher was great yesterday on 3HL. If you missed that interview, go check it out on their podcast feed, 3HL, wherever it is that you get your podcast. So we'll talk to Kevin Dyson, who is very familiar with at least two of these men. Bum Phillips going into the Ring of Honor, Jeff Fisher, and Floyd Reese as well. Kevin Dyson will join us to discuss on the other side and talk about his podcast that's a part of the Zone Podcast Network. I'm Buck Rising. This is 104.5 The Zone.
So, chatting Titans? Well, it's our favorite pastime. Your home for Titans football and the flagship of Titans radio. 104.5 The Zone.
Hi, this is Dr. Lewis. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of taking pills? Well, we finally have a medical breakthrough that is helping thousands of couples restore normal intimacy in the bedroom. We use the most advanced form of wave therapy, clinically proven to repair blood vessels and increase blood flow. We can now effectively treat the root cause problem of erectile dysfunction. Our technology is science-backed and has been shown by Cambridge University to be highly effective. As a medical doctor, I can say that this technology is the new standard of care for erectile dysfunction.
Thanks, Dr. Lewis. Guys, if you'd like to eliminate your frustrations in the bedroom, call Hillside Medical Clinic right now, and not only will the exam and blood flow ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift proven to produce immediate results in the bedroom. This is a $600 value, free to those that call now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Call Hillside Medical now to qualify and put a stop to your ED. 615-576-5000.
Make plans now for Oak Grove Gaming's Rhythm and Brews Craft Beer and Music Festival, Saturday, July 24th, featuring headliners Little Texas.
The same old
in all of us, and that's why they're getting this honor.
I wonder, Kevin, because you're so right about that, and I don't know if something like that can exist in today's day and age in sports, where you have a general manager, a head coach, a core of a team that stays together the way that you guys did, that generated the excitement and created such a great brand of pro football here in Tennessee and then ultimately in Nashville when the team was finally put down its roots here. With the way that the game is now, where fans, at least younger fans, seem to gravitate more towards individual players as opposed to franchises, can something like that be recreated?
Well, you see it over there in the Massachusetts area. I think it still can. I think that it becomes about a philosophy, a brand, a way of life, if you will. You set kind of, this is how we do things, and you either fit in, you get out. I think a lot of times even when I was a head coach, sometimes you see the vision, but you see this player and you make concessions for that person because they help you win. But the best thing might have been addition by subtraction, and I think sometimes nowadays guys may be more cancerous in the locker room or more individuals, and you make concessions because of their ability is so good, it's so unique, but they might not be necessarily that quote unquote that team guy. And I'll just speak on Eddie George for a second, even Steve. They were the faces of our franchise during that time.
Right.
But aside from the outsiders looking in, none of us ever felt like that they felt like that with us. They just wanted to win. Now, don't get me wrong. They were in the business of making money like the rest of us were. But at the end of the day, those gentlemen wanted to win. And you can look at Steve McNair's track record, if you will, and how many times he restructured his contract to be able to afford players to get in there to help him win games. And I think that is not necessarily common as much anymore. And that is what was the beauty of that team, and what Jeff and Floyd and the guys saw in us was a bunch of selfless guys in the sense of football selflessness, that really we just wanted to win. Now, business becomes business at some point for everybody. Don't get me wrong, the NFL is a business. At the end of the day, it's a business, and the players are their own corporation, and they got to take care of themselves and their family. But for the most part, that was the difference in our team and what Jeff and Floyd and them built, was a bunch of guys that just wanted to win football games and would do what it took to make that happen.
The good Dr. Kevin Dyson here with us on 104.5 The Zone. You can follow him at KT Dyson87 on the socials. Check out the podcast 3 The Pro Way, and of course you can always hear him pre and post game on Titans Radio. The man doesn't have enough to do, so he's taking time to hang out with us on the radio today and reminisce on Floyd Reese, Jeff Fisher, and those great Titans teams. That really resonates with me, Kevin, about what you're saying with the way that the two faces of your guys' franchise at the time indisputably also lifted the rest of you, and of course by your own accomplishments and your own merits. I don't mean to diminish anything that the rest of you did alongside Steve and Eddie, but you really felt the way that those two elevated the entire cast of that team in a way where it's still recognizable brand name, so embedded in the bones of this city and this state with how we talk about those great Titans teams at the beginning of the Titans era. I feel, and I wonder how you look at this particular era of Titans football, Kevin, because as a reporter and as a Titans reporter, I see, at least before COVID, when we were in the locker room and we got to be around the guys more often, I don't know what it was like back in the day because I wasn't covering you guys then. But with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown, these kind of stars who are just now starting to hit the peak, it seems, of their time together, I get a similar vibe to the one that you're describing, and I wonder if you see this team in the same kind of light, understanding that they still have yet to achieve at the highest level, which is, going and playing in a Super Bowl.
To your point of being an outsider looking in, right? I'm not in the locker room either, but from a bird's eye view, from the optics of it all, I see a lot of similarities, even from the head coach's approach to things. Of course, now with social media and things like that, more things are magnified and highlighted, and the position of head coach and even GM is even magnified even more than it was in the 90s and early 2000s or whatever. But in essence, though, from an outsider's looking in, that is what they seemingly have built, a bunch of guys that just want to win football games. But again, like I said, business is business, and they're in the business of making money. Just the players, the organizations, the league, everybody's in the business of making money. But from an outsider's perspective, from a former player's perspective, you look like you got a bunch of guys that are just willing to do what it takes to win, and they understand the business will come. If we're winning football games, if I'm productive, if I'm doing my part, the business is coming. The money is coming, whether it's here, there, or other. But right now, you got guys that are hungry. Tannehill, who's rejuvenated. You talk about his career, a guy who had a lot of success in Miami. He just wasn't, quote unquote, winning like he is now. And now he's a good quarterback. No, look at him. He's statistically he's doing a lot of same things, but look at his supporting cast is a lot different as well.
Right.
And so you see guys like that who are getting this second chance of life, if you will, and that story he can tell, like how easy it comes and how easy it can go. And then he got that story to tell to that young guy in the locker room or even that veteran. And you see that, and guys like, man, we got a small win opportunity right here to win a lot of football games. Let's go out and do it. And that's where I seem to go. And it starts with, again, JR and Vrabel. And you see them, they're in tune. And I think that's important. That's not always the case. You know, and when you get to the leadership standpoint, and when leadership is on point and is aligned, everything else seems to fall in line, and that seems to be where they're at right now.
Man, I'm cracking up when you're talking about the idea that the positions of GM and coach have been elevated also because of social media. Because immediately what comes to mind is John Robinson sitting in an armchair singing Bill Withers, "Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone," after he signed Jadeveon Clowney, and Vrabel on a podcast talking about chopping off his manhood for a Super Bowl. And it helps with the PR, no doubt about it. So take us back to 1998. Kevin Dyson here with us on 104.5 The Zone. You get the call from Floyd Reese. What does that conversation look like when you're drafted into this organization?
Actually, man, so I'll go back. I had my pro day earlier that year in February, whatever it was, and my agent, and Floyd Reese, was there, and we just having a candid conversation. And my agent asked him point blank, he said, "Where do you feel like Dyson will go?" And he said, "Anywhere from 8 to 16. And I looked at him. I was like, wait, the Oilers got the 16th pick.
Yep.
So in a sense, I knew I wasn't going past 16 if he was true to his word. And so when I was projected to go 8, then it was 10, and then it was like 11, 12. I could go in. It was I think that was the Eagles and the Falcons, 11, 12. And once I got past there, I kind of knew there wasn't going to be receiver taken until potentially 16. And sure enough, my agent called. He said, "We'll be going to the Oilers." And that was before Floyd and Jeff called me. So when my phone rang, I kind of had a sense that it was them, and just that elation, man, that relief. You know, I was 16th pick, and I had been there for like 4.5 hours or something crazy, like, right? Because that's how long the draft was back then. It was just a long process. And I was 16th pick. I can't imagine what it's like now, you know, because it happened so fast. But you know, and when I think Jeff was on the phone first, he said, "Welcome to the Oilers, man. We're looking forward to having you. Man, just come in, do what you've been doing, et cetera, et cetera." Floyd gets in, kind of the same sentiment. And then to tell you we're being back in contact, we got to get back in the war room, get ready for the rest of the draft. Somebody else will call you here later, and we'll get your travel stuff together, and then you go on. And then you get to enjoy the moment with your family and friends. And it happens so fast, man, but it's a long process. But that moment is so fast that you almost don't even hear what they say, because you're just happy to have your name called.
Right.
Your dream is realized, and you're like, okay, I'm now in the National Football League. What's next? And then what next happens? You get on the plane, you do your press conference, and people throwing a lot of information on you. You're a superstar because you're the first round pick, and you got a lot of people tugging at you. They want to talk to you, and it's just a real whirlwind. You almost don't get to enjoy it because it just happens so fast and so much. But it's something I'm very humbled to have gone through, man, and very appreciative of, because I know it's a small percentage of people that have had that opportunity. and I wouldn't change it for the world.
That's a hell of a memory on Kevin Dyson. That he had it spot on. 11, the Philadelphia Eagles took Trey Thomas. 12, Atlanta with Keith Brooking, the longtime linebacker in the league. And then they're sitting at number 16. I'm looking on it on Pro Football Reference. Kevin Dyson to the Houston Oilers.
And number 12, Keith Brooking and I, we had the same agent, Gary Richard, rest in peace. And so, because after that point, I kind of knew. So we had the same agent. They called him about Keith and me. So it was, it was that conversation. And they ended up drafting, I think, Jeremy Jermaine in the second round, I believe, is when they got him. The Falcons did. So they ended up getting a receiver, too.
So you're probably associated. I mean, you're not probably. You are associated with the two most famous plays in the history of this franchise, or at least in the Titans era, and two historic plays in NFL history. If I had to ask you what was your favorite memory outside of the obvious one, the Music City Miracle of Jeff Fisher on the sidelines, what would you give me?
Oh, man. Ooh, that's tough because there was a few. I'll tell you what. One that comes to mind is the AFC Championship win, and that moment on the podium and that joy. And that one, and when we came back from there and shared that with the fans, those two moments when it was about football, but it was about the work that was put in to get to those moments, and knowing that we were at the pinnacle, we were at the top of everybody, we were the AFC representative. Those two moments, because in those moments you really want to enjoy it, but you also know there's work to be done. But I can't imagine being a head coach who had worked your way through. You get there and you got players and you're seeing the fruits of your work come to fruition. You see it coming to life and you reach that pinnacle and you want to enjoy it. You just want to soak in it. But man, we gotta get home, get your bags, and come back up here in a couple hours and head out to Atlanta. And that's kind of how it was for us, because it was a quick turnaround for us. And those two moments and the joy that everybody had, including Jeff and Floyd, and if you look at the pictures, you see that joy, man. You can tell there was a lot of hard work that went into getting to that moment.
I see him every time I walk into the press box at Nissan Stadium. It's really cool to get to relive those memories the way that they've documented them there at the stadium. Kevin Dyson here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Make sure you check out the podcast 3 the Pro Way. The guest this week, Fawn Weaver, and the subject matter is controlling your brand. Kevin, we've talked to Joey about the podcast and the project that you guys are working on right now. What can people expect when they subscribe to this to the podcast and check out the latest edition with Fawn?
I think one thing you'll get from it is authenticity, man. I think you'll get authentic conversation from us and from our guests. I think people have a story to tell, and it's been fun to listen to people and their willingness to share. We have several guests that will be released here in the coming weeks, and each of them have similar paths, if you will, but uniquely to their own and their perspective. But it's fun to go down that memory lane with our guests and just talk about what does it help them become the person, the people that they are. And it's been fun, man. It's been interesting. I think a lot of times, or here most recently, what I have been doing as far as education, becoming a principal and things of that nature. And I didn't understand why it was big news. I was transitioning life. Football was over. I had to do something and I'm belittling it, but I don't mean it like that. But I was saying that to say I didn't understand why it was a big storyline for people for what I was doing. But then it dawned on me that it is unique in a sense of what I'm doing and how I progress, but it also is encouraging to people that may have lost their job and got to find something to do, or not necessarily living out their passion and they're just doing it because they need a job, but they're not necessarily seeking out those things that they really want to do and letting go of the fear and anxiety and things of that nature and getting to wherever their destination may be. And me sharing my side of it, my story may be encouraging to others. And so that's kind of how the show kind of materialized, was how can I share my story, but not just mine, others, and maybe encouraging, inspiring to others. And Fawn, I mean, if you have a chance to listen to it, Fawn Weaver is a dynamo, man. She's 5'0", and she commands a room.
Yeah.
And you're talking about somebody who has come up from a very distinct life and has transformed herself and created a quote unquote brand, and the process in which that now has a multi-billion-dollar company and industry and things that she's doing. It's just uniquely to her own, and it's so inspiring. And if you get a chance to listen or even meet her, you will be impressed. Every time I meet her or talk to her, I'm just thoroughly impressed by her, and become friends, and plan to pick her brain about a couple of things that I got in the works that I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
And, similar to, and so when she told me, I said, whenever you settle down, I would like that conversation. She said, if you wait for that moment, we'll never meet. So I just got to get on the calendar for both of us where we can have a time, sit down and just have a conversation. But man, take a listen, because you will not be disappointed by her story. And that's just part one. Part two, she talks about the story of Uncle Nearest and Jasper Jack Daniel and that relationship, and she dispels a lot of the myths of a former slave and the white apprentice who people assume stole the recipe for what we call and know Jack Daniel's whiskey, but she tells the story in its truth in its entirety, and she's so poignant with it, and it's such a unique and compelling story that I think people would love to hear it.
No question about it. That's why you got to be subscribed to 3 the Pro Way. You can get it every Monday. New episodes with Kevin Dyson and the crew. At KT Dyson87 is where you follow the good doctor on social media. Man, Kevin, it's always a pleasure to catch up. Thanks for taking some time.
Absolutely, brother, man. Enjoy your day, man.
No doubt. Kevin Dyson, Titans great, Titans legend, hanging out here with us on 104.5 The Zone. When we come back, I want to talk about 2 names who belong in this ring of honor that the Titans have adorning Nissan Stadium. And I want to talk about some stuff that the Titans need to upgrade. Well, that Nissan Stadium needs to upgrade, and the Titans along with them, because a lot is being made as soon as this was announced about what exactly the Titans ring of honor looks like. So, if you want to get in on the conversation, what would you like to see them upgrade at Nissan Stadium? And who else do you think belongs in the Titans ring of honor? 615-737-1045. I'll tell you the 2 names that I think should have been up there yesterday on the other side. I'm Buck Rising, and this is 104.5 The Zone.
You know what they do? They live Middle Tennessee sports. Blaine and Mickey. This afternoon, 1 to 3 on 104.5 The Zone.
Dr. Kevin Dyson. If you miss any of that interview with the Titans legend, you can check that out in your favorite podcast app, The Buck Rising Show, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. And while you're checking out podcasts, we were fortunate enough to get approached with a fun new project that debuted today. It is called The Install with Greg Cosell of NFL Films. It's going to be a podcast that comes to you every Wednesday, and they were kind enough to ask me to host it with Greg. So this is something that I'm really excited about. You get a lot of Cosell on the Zone anyway. He does weeklies with 3HL, but now we'll get the opportunity to go a little deeper, right? Radio segments are, I got plenty of time to talk, right? I got 3 hours a day to talk. But in the podcast form, Greg and I can get into, you can get a little more of Greg's personality. You can understand how he watches the film, and you can understand, I think, at a little greater length, more about the moments that changed the game for the Titans on any given Sunday, Monday, or Thursday when we do this podcast every week. So I'm very excited about. I could not be more happy and more honored that Greg asked me to do it with him. And you can catch that every Wednesday at 6 p.m. in the 104.5 The Zone Podcast Network. The Install with Greg Cosell. Subscribe, rate, leave us a review if you hang out on Apple Podcasts. So the question that we asked you guys before we went to the commercial break is which Titan that didn't play for the Houston Oilers, right? Because every member of the current Ring of Honor in Nissan Stadium has history with the Houston Oilers, whether they coached there, were an executive there. I mean, Floyd Reese coached and was an executive for this franchise, coached with the Oilers, and then became the GM of the Houston Oilers and ultimately the Tennessee Titans when they moved here. Everybody in this Ring of Honor has an association with the Oilers. Now, there are some names that come across the last 20 years that probably, for the Titans, belong in that room, for lack of a better term. The two that I think should have been done yesterday, as far as I'm concerned, are Javon Curse and Keith Bulluck. Mr. Monday Night and the Freak. Two iconic players, not just in the Titans' history, but in NFL history. These guys are still talked about and still, for lack of a better term, gawked over. When you see NFL Throwback, there's a great Twitter account called NFL Throwback that tweets out their highlights of players past. In fact, I saw Mike Vrabel trying to return an interception. I can't remember who they were playing, but Vrabel picked off a pass when he was with the Patriots. And, he takes 3 steps and basically falls on his face a little bit, but he got the interception. And I saw him quote tweet it the other day and say, when at the time it felt like I was taking that one to the house. I thought I, juked a couple guys out. I thought there was a couple more stiff arms there. Looked a little different for the current Titans head coach. But it's a cool way to kind of remember those moments. I see Javon Curse on that account all the time. I see Keith Bulluck on that account all the time. These are two guys who played exclusively for the Tennessee Titans. Not that it's a necessary requirement, although the Houston Chronicle yesterday. Lucas, I should have texted you this article. In fact, I'm upset that I didn't now because this should have been a part of our pre-show prep. The Houston Chronicle wrote an opinion piece, wrote a column about how dare the Tennessee Titans induct Bum Phillips into their Ring of Honor in Tennessee.
Yes, someone brought this up on Blaine and Mickey yesterday.
It is laughable. This little brother syndrome that the city of Houston seems to have with Nashville is funny.
Well, they don't have much right now.
No, they don't have Deshaun Watson. Their MLB team cheats like crazy with the trash cans and everything. Houston Astros probably the most hateable franchise in the majors right now, and that's tough to be more hateable than the Yankees or the Red Sox. It's really, really a struggle. But people hate the Houston Astros, rightfully so. But this little brother complex that they seem to have with, at least in the NFL side of things, always makes me laugh. But this should have been done. This should have been done all at once, as far as I'm concerned. And I understand there's a process that people go through, that the franchise goes through when they're deciding, okay, is there somebody who we think qualifies for this honor? and you don't want to mass induct a bunch of people. You want to be able to spread this out over years and be able to have something to celebrate each season when you remember the legends of the game for your respective franchise. But man, I find it hard to believe that the next two, for sure, that shouldn't be on this list of people that are in the Ring of Honor in Nissan Stadium, shouldn't be Javon Curse and Keith Bullock. Lonzo Wright on YouTube asks, is Houston the new Memphis? Rivalries with Nashville? I mean, I don't think anything can replace the in-state hatred that the city of Nashville and Memphis seem to have for each other, which I hate because I want Nashville to love the Grizzlies. I want Memphis to love the Preds, right? I want it to be Team Tennessee, like that great gif that the Grizzlies always tweet out with the dude dancing in the parking lot. He's got a Preds jersey or a Preds sweater.
Oh, don't do it.
On. He's got the Preds sweater on. The dude's got the head of the Grizzlies and a Titans ball cap. I don't know why that makes me laugh every time. But I wish it was more like that. And yet Memphis and Nashville hate each other for reasons that will always be foreign to me. But I think Houston's got a little bit of that. I don't think that you can ever recreate the hatred for two rival cities in the same state. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved in the conversation. Now, what we are going to do, I want to talk about what Nissan Stadium needs to upgrade coming up next. One thing that you would like to see changed at the Titans' home stadium and where Nashville SC plays, where we will be taking you to a game if you are lucky enough to, well, I shouldn't say it like that. If you are quick enough on the phone to call in and be caller number 5 later in the show, don't do it now. Don't do it now.
Not now.
Breathe,
Not now. Phone's
breathe.
already ringing.
Literally the phone, as soon as I said it, I'm like, damn it. 615-737-1045. Don't call it for tickets yet. You can do that coming up next. Because before I give you the opportunity to come hang out at a soccer game with a bunch of us, we're taking 20 of you to Nashville SC's match with the Chicago Fire, thanks to our friends at T-Mobile. This Saturday, I'm going to give you the opportunity to win some tickets to the Music City Grand Prix. I'll tell you how to do that coming up next, and we'll get into upgrades that Nissan Stadium, at least one, that Nissan Stadium has to have. Coming up next, I'm Buck Rising. This is 104.5 The Zone.
The biggest topics. Will Bowling hosts the Zone Daily Podcast, delivered every morning at 5 a.m. on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the entire Zone Podcast Network.
have your participation. In fact, Darius is going to lead us off here in just a second with the calls. We also have a moment that we are just basically going to spend 20 minutes embarrassing me on live air, which I'm not thrilled about. It's called the Tennessee Geography Bee. It's how Lucas and Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio have chosen to shame me today.
We've been plotting.
The people have asked, so we will answer. Or at least I will try to answer. We'll tell you more about that momentarily. But the question, in the meantime, that we posed to the good people, given that the Ring of Honor conversation has been going on and Nissan Stadium, 20-plus years at least, that the stadium, since the stadium has been built on the east bank of the Cumberland River, there are a lot of things at Nissan Stadium that need to be improved. Now, the good thing for Titans fans, well, I guess not for Nashville SC fans because they're getting their own joint pretty soon, but for any event and any fan base that gets to attend an event at Nissan Stadium, we have seen the renderings that the Titans organization has put out, the plans for Nissan Stadium in the future. Now, the timeline for that, we still do not know. But the thing that we do know is they're coming. But this always, anytime there's something good, God love Twitter, Twitter finds something bad to make out of it, or a bad angle to take out of it, a critical angle to take out of it. So when Floyd Reese, Jeff Fisher, and Bum Phillips were announced as the next 3 inductees to the Oilers-Titans Ring of Honor that adorns Nissan Stadium, that I'm pretty sure my colleague at A to Z Sports, Austin Stanley, called, Little League baseball signs that sit in the 300 level with names on them. Lucas, I think you made the point yesterday that Megan had pointed out, what are those names up top?
That's it? Yeah. That's all they do?
That's all they do. So the question that we've posed is, if you had to pick one thing, the Ring of Honor is fine. The Ring of Honor, I don't think anybody is going to sit here and contest that it should not be improved, okay? But, on its face, that's about the most, what do you want to call it, surface level thing that you could go after if you wanted to change one thing at Nissan Stadium that would enhance your experience as a fan. So we've put it to a poll. We've put it to the people on Zone TV. We've put it to the phone, 615-737-1045. Let's start with Darius in Nashville, who wants to get us going here. What's up, Darius?
Hey, Buck, how you doing? Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, brother.
All right, sounds good. So I wanted to answer the question that you had earlier as far as people or players or individuals
Sure.
who could make a case. So I had 2 in mind. One, I think Chris Johnson could have a chance based off the 2,000-yard season, but not also that. He also had a couple 1,000-yard seasons with the Titans. Granted, his play fell off after that, elsewhere. But I think another strong candidate that nobody's thinking about, I think Rob Baronis could make a real great argument for being up there, too, as being one of the best special teams players for the Titans. So I'll hang up and listen.
Oh, there's no doubt. I appreciate the call, Darius, 615-737-1045. By the way, here's what I'll do, Lucas, if I've got something to give away, because I do have Music City Grand Prix tickets to give away. If you are caller number 5 and you tell us what you would like to upgrade at Nissan Stadium, we will send you a pair of tickets to the Music City Grand Prix, 615-737-1045. What would you like to see upgraded? Be caller number 5. Tell us what you would like to see upgraded, and we will send you to the Music City Grand Prix that is happening August 6th through the 8th. A pair of single-day tickets are yours if you jump in on the conversation, 615-737-1045. So before we move on to that in earnest, I mean, Rob Baronis holds a special place in people's hearts here in Tennessee, particularly, the guy that held for him for a time, who is still the MV punter here in Tennessee. Brett Kern loves Rob Baronis, loves the memory of Rob Baronis. I actually got to play the celebrity softball game at the Sound Stadium. Again, me not being the celebrity amongst the celebrities at the softball game. But with Rob Baronis' wife, after, of course, he passed away tragically, the daughter of Terry Bradshaw, who was on my celebrity softball team because we played for Team Bradshaw, because it was brought on, the whole event was put on by Bradshaw Bourbon, of which we all took part in at great length. But Rob Baronis is somebody who would, I don't think there's a question about it, would be considered for the Ring of Honor in Nissan Stadium. Again, this may happen for all of these guys that we're talking about. It's just I can't do anything without wanting instant gratification. 615-737-1045 is how you get in on the conversation. The lines are lighting up. We will get to your upgrades at Nissan Stadium momentarily. 615-737-1045. So I'll start the bidding for those of you listening at home that may also have the same thought, not to steal your thunder. But anytime I talk about this, because it's always a topic of conversation, or at least in the last 6 years since I've moved here, Nissan Stadium itself has always been brought up as what needs to be different to make the fan experience better. And then you juxtapose it with Bridgestone Arena, where the Preds have, and again, Bridgestone Arena also due for some upgrades as an arena, but the environment in itself, they have an easier time putting on a good show for 20,000 as opposed to nearly 70,000 over there on the East Bank. For me, though, my experience at Nissan Stadium is different than probably everyone listening to this radio show, or whether you're listening to it on the podcast or however it is that you consume us. We appreciate, any number of ways that you get in on the action. But the thing that kind of makes it hard for me to be a judge of this is that I don't sit in the stands. The most time that I've spent in the stands at Nissan Stadium, one, I went to my first Nashville SC game, and two, during COVID, media wasn't allowed on the field, so we had to be in the lower bowl to do our pregame activities. I think that what I would say to you about this is the one time that I'll go down and visit my friends at halftime, sometimes when they come to the stadium, is there is no protection from the elements out there. Every once in a while, I'll make my way down from the press box where I'm safe and secure in the AC, and I'll which makes me sound like such a spoiled brat, but I am, and I'm self-aware. That's okay. I'll go down at halftime to go hang out with some friends, and I'll say, or I'll head down into the lower bowl, and they play a lot of noon games, and in Nashville, I don't have to tell you guys, it's pretty hot basically until November. The sun is all that you have. They're just roasting you from above in Nissan Stadium, no matter where it is you sit, whether you're on the east side of the stadium or the west side of the stadium. There is nothing between you and the UV rays, okay? The few times that I've been down in the lower bowl to see friends who come to the games, it smells of sweat, BO, ranch, for whatever reason, and stale beer. At least one of those smells could be removed if there was simply an awning, the way that they have at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami to keep people alive from the South Florida sun at Nissan Stadium. It would resolve so many of the comfort issues. And I know football games aren't necessarily about the comfort. It's about the elements and, who's the better man and a game of real estate, a game of inches, yada, yada, yada. I don't care. I'm not the one playing the football game. I want to be cool. I want to be comfortable. I want to be able to watch the game and watch the guys on the field gut it out. I don't want to be the one to gut it out. That's the one thing that I would change at Nissan Stadium. First and foremost, put an awning on that damn thing. You don't have to close. You don't have to put a roof on it. Doesn't have to be like Lucas Oil in Indianapolis where it's a retractable roof. Just simply an awning would make all the difference in the world. 615-737-1045. We're going to get to your calls coming up next, and then we're going to shame me. We're going to do the Tennessee geography bee. But you guys have called in. People are waiting patiently on the lines. Dylan will lead us off when we come back, and then Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio, who is slinking into the room if you're watching on Zone TV. He's been plotting with Lucas Panzica about how to make me look like a fool, which is not hard. Normally, I don't need help. But the gentlemen are going to help me. Coming up next, I'm Buck Rising, and this is 104.5 The Zone.
Believe me, they sound better than they look. 104.5 The Zone TV. Live on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Periscope.
A pair of tickets to the Music City Grand Prix if they offered us one upgrade that they would make to Nissan Stadium. So before we get into the geography bee, maybe we'll go around the room. But we start with Dylan, who is our winner of the Music City Grand Prix tickets. Hello, Dylan. How are you?
Good, man. How are you doing, Buck?
I'm great.
Awesome. Good to hear. So if I'm making the changes in Nissan Stadium, strictly aesthetic, but the first thing I'm doing, got to get rid of those houses in the end zone.
The dollhouses. Death to the dollhouses.
For sure.
Yeah, that is a trend that is happening on Twitter. Now, three of these men have probably spent more time in Nissan Stadium than I ever have in my life, and I do it for a living. Rhett Bryan, Will Bowling. Schaefer doesn't have a microphone, which is probably for the best. What are we down with the death to the dollhouses charge? Lucas, can we turn Rhett Bryan's microphone on?
Come on, man. Focus.
I said focus. You're gonna have your moment here in a second, Lucas.
Multitask. Let's do this.
Oh my God.
But yeah,
Fine,
listen, they had their place and time there because of there's the partnership, the stadium naming rights with Louisiana Pacific LP Field, which is a very large lumber company, and so I guess there was something to do with that, all of that. But yeah, it wouldn't hurt my feelings if they went away. I mean, whatever. I don't have to. They don't bother me, but yeah, it probably needs to go away.
Whatever, get gone. Yeah, the death to the dollhouses movement is something that I can get behind. We will go to Graham quickly since he's been waiting patiently. Graham, what's the one thing you would change at Nissan Stadium?
What's up? First, I got to start by saying being out in the elements builds character and camaraderie, so I support it amongst the fans. But
I don't want to have good character. I'm totally fine with being pampered and air conditioned and coffee and brownies in the press box. Sorry.
That's fair. But for the upgrade, if you go to the bathroom at a football game, everybody knows inevitably you miss something important. So we need bigger TVs, better TVs, and more TVs in the bathrooms.
That's practical and efficient. Thank you. Somebody with some sense. Graham, bigger and better televisions in the urinals at Nissan Stadium. First the death to the dollhouses movement. Then we will foray onto the lavatories to make the necessary adjustments.
We ready?
And not down below. All right. What do we have imaging for this? You're like, what's happening here? I'm scared.
Just be quiet.
Wow.
Should I still be quiet? What's happening?
Hello and welcome into the 2021 Buck Rising Show Geography Bee, a game designed to make Buck Rising look like an idiot. I'm your host, Lucas Panzica, alongside Rhett Bryan. Rhett, thank you so much for joining us. What are you most looking forward to about this great event?
Well, I have a question that is not on this list that I think is going to be interesting in terms of him knowing someone in a rural place in Tennessee. But, I mean, hit anything we're going to hit on this, and it's going to be fun. This is going to be a lot of fun.
We have amassed a fantastic studio audience. Thank you all for being here. A round of applause for Buck Rising.
Brent Doherty of 3HL just got here like 6 hours before his show starts? What the hell is going on?
The way the game works, we have compiled a list of towns across the great state of Tennessee that, let's be honest, have some ridiculous ways of pronouncing their cities and names. And we have put them in front of Buck Rising. He's going to read these towns mixed in with a little bit of county trivia across Tennessee, and we're going to make fun of him incessantly. Buck,
oh God.
Ready when you are.
I mean, all right. So, do you want me to look at the first name? So I have in front of me, if you're watching on Zone TV, I have 2 sheets of paper with lists of names of counties. Hello, Brent Doherty. You smell lovely today, by the way. If I'm close enough to smell you, you're too close. So wait, I have names of counties. I have names of cities. I have questions.
This is phenomenal.
Like what county is Bonnaroo in? I know the city that Bonnaroo is in. I have no idea what the county is.
Start from the top.
All right.
Go.
So.
I was born in that county.
This is the county of Brent Doherty's birth. It looks like a former French general. Is it indeed Lafayette?
Wrong. We say it around here, Lafayette.
No. Surely we cannot be this warped as a state.
No, sir. You must embrace the culture, son.
Lafayette.
Lafayette? Really?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, God.
You say Lafayette, and that's why people look at you like you have 3 heads on your shoulders.
In fairness, I've been burned by this before doing play-by-play. A young woman played for Trevecca from Lafayette, and I said Lafayette. Parents came after me.
Oh, no. Yeah, you
All right,
don't want
keep
to mess
going.
with the parents. I'm looking here at a city that sounds like it should be on the West Coast. California, perhaps.
Go
Am
ahead.
I looking at the great city in Tennessee of Santa Fe? No!
You say that in this town, and those are fighting words. If you meet anyone who has been from this little community, it's Santa Fe.
You're full of it. There's no way.
No.
Santa Fe?
It's Santa
Yes.
Fe.
Santa Fe. I probably can't even say
And
the
I'm
T.
telling you, it's fighting words. You say Santa Fe.
Right.
Where are you from? Santa Fe. I'm
Sounds like they
serious.
say Santa's feet. That's what I'm hearing in my head.
But hey, all of this seems like a joke to you. We're 100% serious in anything we're going to tell you in this. It's
Oh no, I'm
100%
terrified that me
yeah.
making a joke out of it. We've already
go.
disillusioned people from Lafayette and Santa Fe.
Go to the next one.
What county is Charlotte in? Oh God.
Charlotte has a very famous resident, native there, born there in Charlotte, Tennessee. Basketball Hall of Famer Oscar Robertson is from Charlotte, Tennessee.
Oh,
That's right.
Okay.
To give you a quick clue, I used to work in this county.
Dixon.
Bingo.
Whoa!
He's on the board.
Whoa!
Buck Rising is on the board. All right.
Use it in a sentence, baby.
Upset of the century.
This is such a bad idea. What county? Oh, excuse me. Now, this sounds like something that Sha'Carri Richardson might be interested in.
Oh,
That was a tough joke. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Way
Too soon.
Something that Kevin Durant likes to partake in post game.
there you go.
Am I looking at Blount County?
He is 2 in a row. He's on a heater now.
I used
This
to
is
be
good.
a resident of Blount County. I used to live there.
If we were in a different state, perhaps I would celebrate in proper fashion in Blount
LeGarrette
County.
Blount County. Yes.
LeGarrette Blount
Home
County.
of,
Very good. All right,
high
next.
school
2 for 2. What county is Knoxville in?
Can he make it 3 in a row?
Don't overthink it.
I feel good about this because I know that the mayor of Knox County.
He is officially 3 in a row, a hat trick,
He's
if
hot.
you will, for Buck Rising.
He's
Get
hot.
the people going. Come on.
I think this next one is going to derail him, though, Lucas.
I would agree.
So
This
here
is
we
the
go.
Tennessee geography bee, by the way. This is purely intended to make me look foolish. Now all you bleep holes look like
You're doing great.
bleep
Yeah,
holes.
I think you're going to hit the wall right here in a second, though. Go.
Oh, no. Is it La Follette?
Try La Follette.
Stop it. Why are we like this? 500 again.
All right.
Now there's no way that this could possibly be any other way than the way that the city in Italy is pronounced. There is no way that there is anything. This is anything but Milan, Tennessee.
Try Milan.
Milan.
Crap. Are you kidding me?
Nope.
Milan?
Yes.
That sounds like a venereal disease.
Be careful.
now.
We have listeners in Milan.
I don't listen. Maybe some penicillin from Milan?
Milan.
Milan.
There you are.
All right.
Maybe it's popular.
My
there.
hometown. What county is Murfreesboro in?
This I know because I've already got it wrong. Give me Rutherford County, baby.
Bingo, bango, bongo. All right, he's back on the board, Lucas.
We love to see it.
This one's going to be a doozy.
All right. Oh, dear God. This looks like something that may have been uttered as a German curse word.
I drove through this town last weekend when I first found out about it.
Grutli Lager?
He is on the board 2 in a row again.
How
Look
is
at
that
this.
humanly possible? I thought somebody wrote this like the phonetic spelling for me.
I was blown away
am
when I drove through
Grutli.
this town.
I am Grutli.
I'm Groot.
That is a Mickey Ryan joke if I've ever heard
I'm
it.
Groot.
How about that?
So what's my record right now? Who's keeping track? Because I got too excited after Rutherford.
You are 5 and 4.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
All right.
Now, this one I know because it was offensive to me
Okay.
as a son of the Middle East.
Yes.
This is not Lebanon, Tennessee.
Nope.
This is Lebanon, Tennessee.
Or if you're from there, it's Lebanon.
Lebanon.
Yeah.
Lebanon.
We'll
I
give
grew
it
up
to you.
thinking the country was called Lebanon
So
because
now
of
you're,
the city here.
2
I'm serious.
All right,
I'm
he's
not
2
kidding.
over 500 here. Keep it going.
I'm so mad. Well, this is how I know I'm screwed because I have no idea which direction.
He can't even pronounce
Give him the buzzer for
direction.
that.
I'm shook.
Wow, he is
Fine
shook.
bucket.
What county lies between Davidson and Dixon? I don't know which direction Dixon County is.
It's west.
It's west?
It starts with a C.
Oh, I was going to say Pegram. It's not Pegram.
That's a town.
That's
Okay.
a town.
That's
In
all
the
I
same
got.
direction.
That's all I got.
Cheatham County.
Cheatham County, which I would have probably called Chatham at a different time in my life.
All right, now this next little place is up in East Tennessee. We've had Titans caravan stops there over the years. What is this next one on the list?
This looks like a word that my girlfriend Dara would say at Seder. Am I looking at Mosheim, Tennessee? No.
No, it's Mossheim.
Mossheim. Of course it is. Now, this can only be one way. Oodlewa?
Bingo, bango, bongo. He's on the board.
We love to see it.
Hoot, hoot.
Now, this one I feel I am going to. There's so many of these. My God, how much time did you guys spend on
There's
this?
25.
We got plenty of time in this segment, Hoss.
Red's got a few extra in his back pocket,
Oh,
too.
dear God. What county is Bonnaroo in? Now, this is a music festival that I've been drunk and naked at before.
Yes.
This is something.
This is not confession hour, pal. This is geography.
That's what I get for 3 hours a day
Come
between
on,
10
man.
and 1.
Did that for the podcast.
Yeah, that's Buck Rising After Dark. Let's go.
You'll love to see it. What county is Bonnaroo in? Give me. Well, it can't be Rutherford County.
Try
but
coffee.
it's in Manchester, Tennessee, in Coffee County.
Coffee County.
Okay, but it's the same general direction. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, it's in the same. Yeah, it's in the same area.
Okay, I'm taking that as a win, even if you won't give it to me.
I was born in that county.
Okay, well that's the second. Wait, what? You can't be born in two counties.
You said Bonnaroo earlier. I said I was born in that county.
Were you born on the county line?
Then you went to Lafayette.
Is there procreation on one side and then birth on the other? Like, what's happening here?
Don't come back from Copperhead Road.
Now I want Brent to chime in every other one saying, I was born in that county.
615-737-1045 if you want to play Stump the Buck, I guess. Am I looking? Okay, so I know this town because George Kittle has a farm here, which is a random way to know
A
a
lot
town
of
in
celebrities
Tennessee.
have farms in this area.
Give me Leaper's Fork.
Bingo.
Lucas Panzica.
Now, this next little place is just outside of Murfreesboro. In fact, it lies between the edge of Murfreesboro over by MTSU, and its claim to fame, the edge of this little place and in between Murfreesboro, is the exact geographical center of the state of Tennessee.
Now, if Lafayette is Lafayette, if Santa Fe is Santa Fe, then Las Casas must be Las Casas.
You're halfway home. It's Las Casas.
Las Casas.
You were halfway there, though. You're working. You're learning.
Damn this
good.
to hell. All right. This one I know because I don't know why the name Tullahoma makes me giggle.
Okay.
But Tullahoma, no, you weren't born in that county, too.
Brent was born in Tullahoma.
Get out of
That's
here.
Coffee County.
Oh, okay. It's fine. It's three. Brett Doherty, apparently, I guess he's a triplet. There's three different Doherty triplets somewhere out
Yeah,
there.
they rotate on
Tullahoma is,
3HL every day.
Tullahoma is the home of George Dickel Distillery.
So if I want to booze, no wonder Brent's the way that he is.
Whoa.
What? That was me.
There's a shot.
My God.
Great bullet.
He's lashing out. He's lashing
Show
out.
on show
Of
violence.
all the people to take
He
out,
has a
Brett Doherty is the
family.
least of the offensive.
Spot the lie, though.
Third down.
Third down. What county is Memphis in? I have no idea. I got nothing.
Shelby.
Shelby County. Oh, I knew that one.
Sure you did.
That stinks.
It's one of the most populated areas in the state of Tennessee. Come
What
on.
an
The Bass
idiot.
Pro is lovely this time of year.
Yeah.
This one might be my favorite.
Well, the pyramid is
Yeah,
cultural.
because there's a one-off of this thing.
Correct.
That's a trivia question.
the,
This is good.
the pyramid in Memphis is cultural appropriation. I would like to take that back for my people, by
Does that
the
mean
way.
the Parthenon
Okay.
here is too?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Well
You got
played,
the,
Will.
You got the Greeks and the Egyptians at your neck.
All right.
Give us what is ours.
What's the next one?
All right. Now, this is this reminds me of a kind of beer, but it is not Obion. It must be Obion?
Wow.
Now, here's the one I have in my back pocket.
Why are Tennesseans like
You
this?
know, Buck, you know someone from Obion County.
Obion County.
And this guy,
I'm just kidding.
this guy's,
Screaming through, what is that, mac and cheese that you're eating? It looks delightful.
hey, you know someone from Obion County. This guy's actually pretty famous. One of the more famous people in Obion County, probably.
Yes.
Would it be?
He's a very important decision maker in our neck of the woods.
Oh, God. Well, that can't be anybody in this room.
He brought many people a lot of joy this offseason.
What?
Santa Claus. No.
I was about to say, I'm
Got to throw a guess out.
Ramon Foster?
Ramon Foster is from Ripley, Tennessee.
Okay.
That's kind of in the same area it's the same, third of Tennessee. John Robinson is a native of Obion County.
Oh. Sure. John. Julio. Where is he? Julio. Thank you, A.J. Brown.
All right.
Now, this one I know because it is offensive to me. No offense to the great people of Murrayville, Tennessee.
Hey.
We'll give it to you.
Now, here's the thing.
Hey.
Anything with a "ville" on the end of it
Vol.
is Vol.
Yeah.
I have actually lived
Shelbyville
there.
is Shebville.
What?
Shelbyville.
Yeah.
Shebville?
Yeah. Eagleville is Eagleville.
What's the line from Talladega Nights? Sound like a dog with peanut butter on the roof of its mouth.
Yes.
Shebbyville?
You made me spill my caramel macchiato.
Before
Ricky Bobby.
Before
Ricky
I moved
Bobby.
there, I called it Maryville, and then once I lived there, it's Merville.
Now, this one I know because a friend of mine is from Pulaski, Tennessee.
Bingo.
I don't know what else that could be.
What is it? I mean, are you kidding me? Have you looked at this list? It could be.
All right, you're near the end. You're in the
anything.
home stretch here.
Now, Vlad Putin does not live in Moscow, Tennessee. He lives in Moscow, Russia. What, no sound?
So that's your guess, Moscow?
What the hell else could it be? What? Somebody help me here.
Just keep trying.
Moscow?
Moscow.
What did I say?
Moscow.
Oh, shut up.
Well, that's the difference in this geography. See, it's just. All right.
We are nearing the end. Home
Yep.
stretch of this Tennessee Geography B. What county is Nolensville in?
It's right up the road from where I live.
Right up the road from where Rhett Bryan lives.
And it's right up the road from where Dawn Davenport and Ron Slay live.
Dawn Davenport would never invite me into her home. We would fight about
Hey,
something.
Buck, I was born in this county.
Okay, nobody.
No, I was.
Brent Doherty. Can I phone a friend? Can I phone a friend? His microphone's not on. Can I get that microphone on?
I'm trying.
What do you mean? This is too much. We've never had this many people in the studio.
Now, that's probably true. 12U Nolensville kids playing for the Tennessee State Championship today.
Oh, no.
If they win, they go to Warner Robins. If they win that, they go to the Little League World Series.
Well,
So
now-
cheer them on.
Now I'm going to bring great shame
Nolensville.
to the people of Nolensville.
What county is it in?
We already said Cheatham. I don't know that many Tennessee counties.
You know this county. That's
You
the
do
thing.
know this. This
You're
is
going to hate
actually
yourself.
the county I was born in.
I have no idea.
It's his first name.
Bowling?
My first
What do you-
name is Bowling?
Oh, my brain's not working today. Well, that's what I scream when he comes in
Well,
here and
Cosell, nice to meet you.
yells about Ronald Acuna.
Williamson County.
Williams. Oh,
Hey.
that I hate. No, what?
Yes.
Nolensville's in Williamson County.
That's what I'm saying. You
Is
definitely do
Nolensville South?
that. Uh-huh.
This stinks. Baileyton is the next one on my list. Yes? What? Baileytown?
Go
Belton.
ahead.
What?
Belton.
Belton?
Yes.
This is offensive.
Oh, wait till you get the last one here.
It has to be like the Queen. It has to be Celine Dion, Tennessee.
Nope.
Damn it.
That's a no for me.
This one might be my favorite.
I'm now under 500. What do we have?
Salona.
Stop it. Celine. Salona, Tennessee?
We didn't say it was right, dude.
Where's the O?
I understand your frustration.
We are not meant to answer these
be okay.
questions.
My mom, my mom's side of the family came up in a very rural area of Rutherford County, and there's a little community within that and a road named after it. You would think it would be Versailles, like the Treaty of Versailles. They say
Yes.
Versailles.
Oh, God.
I'm serious.
Sales is a good one.
We need better English teachers in this state.
Kentucky has all of this too.
Easy, Big Daddy. They'll come with the pitchforks here in a while if you
can
keep
play the
that
same
up.
game with Kentucky, and it's going to be the exact same.
I deserve it. Pay the teachers more.
And we didn't even get across to the quirky little, community names and towns. I mean, my mom's family comes from a little community called Possum Trot. I'm serious.
Buck Snort.
There's Buck Snort,
Buck Snort, Tennessee.
Lick Skillet,
Yep.
I mean, watch severe
It's our
weather.
heritage,
Watch
Buck.
severe weather stuff when it comes through, and watch them track the storms out, and they'll name all the little communities.
Yeah, we just had Jim, a caller, call and said, tell him about Buck Snort.
Buck's going to need to snort something during the commercial break to make me a
Well,
Razor J.
the final record, you were 12-14, which is better than I thought you would do. So a round of applause for Buck Rising.
Yes. Very well done, sir. Very well done.
Only one boo. We'll take it. The Tennessee Geography Bee. Now I've alienated the entire state that listens to 104.5 The Zone successfully.
All part of my plan.
Well done, Lucas. Well done, Buck. Very good.
Very well done.
Thank you to everybody who participated. Brent Doherty, Jonathan Schaefer, Rhett Bryan, Will Bowling, and Lucas Panzica, who may be hosting this show when we come back. I'm Buck Rising. This is 104.5 The Zone.
From the field to the locker room, with 11 years of NFL experience, Ramon Foster delivers a unique perspective every weekday morning. J. Mart and Ramon, tomorrow morning starting at 6 on 104.5 The Zone.
Lately, we've been getting a lot of calls and questions about acoustic wave therapy for the
later at some point. We got time. But the Tennessee Geography Bee, the praise is pouring in on social media. Brady Ray, at B-Ray 2015 VFL, wonder who he's a fan of, says, I have to say, the Tennessee State Geography Bee segment just now with Buck Rising on 104.5 The Zone might be my favorite segment ever. Big shout out to Rhett B, Tennessee, and Lucas Panzica for that as well. Well done.
That was fun.
You proud of yourself?
I'm so proud of myself.
Okay. Well, for all the hell I put you through yesterday, it's deserved.
Yes. You were 12-14. I'll give you credit. I thought it would be worse.
I mean, I've been here long enough that I should at least been able to get that many. Like I would have been comfortable with people calling people call for my job on a regular basis anyway. But I would have been comfortable with people calling to have me fired had I not gotten, at least 10.
On the last one, I said it was Solana. We had caller John call and say it's actually Salina, but I think kind of when you throw the southern accent in there, it could turn into Solana. But either way, it's not.
It's not Celine.
Yeah.
It's all coming back to me now. That's a Mickey Ryan joke. I got a courtesy laugh from Brett Doherty. What the hell are you doing in here, by the way? Not that I don't enjoy your presence as you eat good-smelling food right next to me while I do a show during the lunch hour in which I can't eat, which is driving me crazy. But Brett Doherty is here 6.5 hours basically before his show starts.
Well, he's here throughout the show every day with that cutout right behind you.
Well, that's true. Always in our hearts.
Brent Doherty was born in Coffee County. That cutout was born in Blount County.
No, there was like 87 counties that Brent gave me that he was born in. I don't believe anything he says now. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved with the show. We are going to have the opportunity for you to come hang out with us on Saturday. Coming up next, we are going to have the opportunity for you to win a pair of tickets to the Nashville SC game, a VIP experience, and the opportunity to hang out and tailgate a bit with us before. We'll tell you more about that tomorrow. But we're announcing the winners on social media, we are picking the winners on social media later today for the VIP experience to come hang out with our show, our first show event, thanks to our friends at Nashville SC and T-Mobile.
Some tough decisions to be made.
The submissions are really good. The Godfather guy is the leader in the clubhouse.
Yeah, he's a lock.
By the way, once we decide the winners, I'm going to need a list of people's names that I can put, and I mean this respectfully, but I'm going to have a hard time remembering names. So please don't hate me if I mix you up when we hang out on Saturday. But we're going to have a great time. I'm going to be. I fear though, and maybe I shouldn't say this while our bosses are listening because I'm certain they are, but I'm going to be righteously hungover at this game. My birthday.
Probably both of us will be.
My birthday celebration is on Friday night. When my birthday's not actually until Tuesday because I make my birthday a week-long affair like a D-bag. What are you going to do? But I fear that I'm going to be sufficiently banged up by the time I saunter into Nissan Stadium at 7:30. I may be wearing a crown. I may be wearing my sash that was given to me a couple of years ago that says, "It's my effing birthday," without the effing. We will see. What are you giggling about?
Please wear a sash.
I wear a sash every year.
Oh, okay.
This is the first year that you're going through this.
So when I'm with you Friday night, you're going to be wearing a sash out?
Hell yes.
Okay.
Hell yes. I will be. Everybody's going to know, and everybody's going to hate me for it, but that's okay. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved. What we're going to get into coming up next, though, is we told you earlier in the show about the new podcast that we've been fortunate enough to launch here at The Zone, The Install with Greg Cosell, a weekly Wednesday podcast. By the way, Greg Cosell coming up later, 4:20 p.m. on 3HL, where you can hang out with him and the crew on 3HL every week, Thursdays at 4:20. But The Install with Greg Cosell is the podcast that Greg and I are co-hosting. And this week's episode, because it will be a weekly episode, this week we did the AFC South. And we talked about Ryan Tannehill as a system quarterback. What we're going to get into on the other side is why it is okay for Ryan Tannehill to be a system quarterback, because he is a system quarterback. Greg will explain that in more detail because we've got some clips of this coming up next. But we went through the entirety of the AFC South, and we're going to do our AFC South preview today. We're less than 2 weeks away from training camp. The Tennessee Titans report on Tuesday, July 27th. I am fired up about it. We are excited to be out there giving you – we hope that we're going to be out there. I don't know if we are actually going to be out there yet or not, so maybe I shouldn't say things into a microphone before people tell me what's going on. But we will be providing you exceptional coverage as we do each and every year here on your flagship home of the Tennessee Titans. 104.5 The Zone.
Every great Titans moment can be found here. Your home for Titans football and the flagship of Titans radio. 104.5 The Zone.
This is Damon Amendolara with a CBS Sports Minute. So where will you be watching Team USA in the Olympics? Have you thought about Scottie Pippen's house, perchance? The Basketball Hall of Famer has listed his house on Airbnb for the low price of $92. You can spend the night in his crib and watch the games on his personal movie screen. Now, unfortunately, he won't be there, much like the 1998 season, but he will introduce you to his home with a video welcome message. Perhaps you can see his Tony Kukoc voodoo doll, his Phil Jackson piñata, and the oversized check the Rockets gave him once upon a time. $92 actually seems like a steal these days for a place to stay, unless, of course, you have to deal with the incessant complaining of Scottie Pippen. Then all bets are off. This is Damon Amendolara.
Hey everybody, Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage and Rocket Companies. Last year, we saw historically low mortgage interest rates. In fact, over 1 million homeowners took advantage of refinancing or buying a new home with Rocket Mortgage. What you may not know is that interest rates are already starting to increase again, and it's likely that trend is only going to continue. Our team of experts is standing by to help you save before rates go up. With an official mortgage review from Rocket Mortgage, you'll see just how much money you could save by making a move right now. Don't look back over these next few weeks and wish that you had taken action. You could save hundreds on your mortgage payments or pay off your home loan earlier than planned. You could even take cash out of your home to pay off high-interest debt, complete home repairs, or bulk up on an emergency fund. When you want to secure a low rate, Rocket can. Call 833-8ROCKET or visit rocketmortgage.com. Rocket.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states and MLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
Hi, this is Dr. Lewis. Are you struggling?
before we turn you over to Blaine and Mickey, and then 3HL for the rest of your afternoon. 3HL, by the way, and I don't just say this because Brent's sitting in here with me, but they've been killing it with the guests. Pecorine and Jeff Fisher with Coach Mack yesterday was exceptional. They got Greg Cosell and Tony Vitello on a new deal later on this afternoon. So make sure you're listening to 104.5 The Zone all day long.
That Pekka interview was phenomenal.
It was really, really good.
Encourage anybody to go check that out.
And you can do so, if you missed any of it, on their podcast page, 3HL, wherever it is that you get your podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review. What we're going to go, where we are going to go right now, though, is into something that was a big topic of conversation on the new podcast that I'm doing with Greg Cosell every Wednesday. Greg Cosell of NFL Films, to be exact. It's called The Install. While you're subscribing, rating, and reviewing 3HL's podcast, if you would be kind enough to do the same for this show, we would appreciate that as well. But one more for you, The Install, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. That would be lovely to see you guys there. So what we did on this first episode, and we're going to play you some snippets. We went through the AFC South. All four teams, we led off with the one that matters the most, the Titans. And we got into a conversation about Ryan Tannehill specifically, and the idea that Ryan Tannehill is, in fact, a system quarterback. Now, that may offend some of you who love this man and all the things that he has done to kind of rejuvenate offensive football in Nashville. But the term system quarterback, and I'm glad that Greg dispelled this, what do you want to call it, cliche or preconceived notion about what a system quarterback actually means. This was Greg Cosell on The Install that debuted today, talking about why Ryan Tannehill is a system quarterback and what exactly that means.
And what I'm about to say, by the way, is not a negative term because everyone is, but I think there's a sense that he's a system quarterback. Now, I just want to say this. Every quarterback is a system quarterback because that's the way it's taught.
Right.
There's no coach who rolls the ball out and says, let's see what we can do today and let's run around and see what happens. Every quarterback is taught a system. Now, I think people still have a sense of what a system quarterback means in that he needs all the pieces in place to be effective. That's a hard question to answer with Ryan Tannehill. This is the offense in which he's in. He's been very efficient, very effective within the context of this offense. The weapons are in place. We'll see. Here's something to keep in mind. Arthur Smith's background is probably more along the lines of the Kyle Shanahans of the world, where you run the ball a lot out of base personnel. You use a fullback. We've seen that the Titans have both used Kerry Blasingame and then Michael Pruitt when I guess he's not there anymore, but Michael Pruitt, was used as a fullback very often. So it was a lot of two-back sets, and that has an impact on the defense, and it has a major impact on the efficiency of your play-action pass game. Todd Downing's background is a little different. Todd Downing kind of came into this league with Scott Linehan as his mentor. And Scott Linehan, for those who don't remember, was both a head coach and an offensive coordinator. And he featured a lot more of what we call 11 personnel, Buck, meaning 3 wide receivers, 1 back, 1 tight end. So that's just another thought, another challenge for Todd Downing. What will this offense look like from a personnel standpoint?
Greg Cosell on this first episode of The Install. You can subscribe, rate, and review wherever it is you get your podcast to The Install with Greg Cosell, which will drop in your podcast feeds every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Central Time. More than enough time to get you ready for that week's football action. So, Ryan Tannehill is a system quarterback because all quarterbacks are system quarterbacks. This is one of the most ridiculous notions or labels. We have to assign labels to everything, whether we actually understand what the label means. System quarterback is a cliche, like game manager, or at least it's been turned into one. Whereas every NFL, as Greg has just laid out there so thoughtfully, every quarterback is asked to be a system quarterback. Every quarterback is asked to be a game manager. Are some of them better outside of the construct of their offense than others? Of course. When you are as freakishly talented as somebody like Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. Aaron Rodgers used to, at least, as a younger player. Now he does really well within the system of Matt LaFleur. But on the fly, Aaron Rodgers is one of the best off-platform throwers I've ever seen in my life. Quarterbacks can improvise outside of the system, but at their core, they are asked to play within the confines of whatever system that team runs. Now, you can do things to benefit your players, to make the system work for the players. What they have done here in Tennessee is make the system work for Ryan Tannehill. That's what Arthur Smith, that's basically what, and many other things. Arthur Smith is hugely talented at his job, deserves everything that he has gotten, and certainly will succeed at a high level, I imagine, down there at Atlanta, even though that franchise is largely cursed. Ryan Tannehill, the change in him because of the system makes all the difference in the world. Consider this. So we talked a lot about these godforsaken top 10 lists that ESPN was pumping out into the sports ether during this offseason, and how probably the greatest offense of any of these lists is that Ryan Tannehill was excluded. Ryan Tannehill, prior to coming to Tennessee, prior to taking over the job with the Titans as their starting quarterback, 42-46 career record, a 1.6 touchdown to interception ratio, and a quarterback rating of 48.9. Now, there are several systems that Ryan Tannehill played in. Adam Gase is largely blamed for the lack of success that Ryan Tannehill was able to find in Miami, where he had a losing record, had a poor touchdown to interception ratio, and was not a highly rated quarterback given all of the things that he was asked to do within the confines of the system. Enter Arthur Smith. Exit Marcus Mariota. Here comes Tannehill. 17-7 as a starter. 3.9 touchdown to interception ratio here in Tennessee, and a 71.1 quarterback rating. All quarterbacks are system quarterbacks. This is where you find the actual impact of coaching. Coaching is supposed to help you win in the margins. Good coaching and bad coaching can find ways for you to win or lose in the margins on game day, in-game decisions, and then ultimately the different schemes that coaches like to run. They're all a variety of the same kind of plays. Nobody is reinventing the wheel, although Baltimore seems to have done a little bit of that with Lamar in a way that we'll talk about more, and how the Houston Texans may be trying to replicate to some degree what the Baltimore Ravens have done around Lamar, and that makes the conversation around the Texans actually a lot more interesting than you might have earlier thought, even though I believe them to be damned next year. They have zero chance as far as I'm concerned with their 87 running backs and Tyrod Taylor, hopefully not this year with a punctured lung. But where you see the effects of coaching are right there in the margins. Anybody can box score Ryan Tannehill and say Ryan Tannehill of Miami is not the Ryan Tannehill of Tennessee. But you do have to take the time to see what impact the people around him have had on what it is that he's asked to do. What he has done is execute at an extremely efficient level. But he does not physically overwhelm you the way that somebody like peak Aaron Rodgers, or in his prime Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson might do outside of the structure of what they are asked to do. Inside, and Tannehill also has the ability to create on the fly. Nobody is dismissing that. He has the ability to make plays with his legs. 7 touchdowns on the ground last year. There's no question that the Titans work that to their advantage because they understand what kind of player they have. To this point, it has been the perfect marriage between organization, coaching staff, and player. That is why you see the current version of Ryan Tannehill in front of you that you do. It's okay to call him a system quarterback because, as Greg's just told you, they all are. We're going to get into more of the AFC South and what exactly the impact of the changes that have been made, Carson Wentz, what the Houston Texans are doing, and what the best use of Trevor Lawrence is. By the way, I don't know how many people saw that Urban Meyer got subpoenaed yesterday. That was a little bit of news. Lucas is looking at me like he smelled something bad. What, you didn't know
I did not
that?
see this.
He
About
did-
what?
About the racist strength coach, about Chris Doyle. Yeah. Shouldn't have been talking about how you've known him for 20 years, Urban. You've been served.
Well, I guess I don't want to put you in a bad spot, but what would the legal issue over that be, besides him just being really dumb?
Well, why don't I tell you on the other side? 615-737-1045 is how you get involved. Also, well, why don't we do this? Be caller number 5, and we'll take you to a Nashville SC game with us on Saturday. A VIP experience thanks to our friends at Nashville SC and T-Mobile. 615-737-1045. Be caller number 5, and you'll win the tickets. Simple as that. I'm Buck Rising. This is 104.5 The Zone.
We know you can't wait. Titans training camp is coming. Your home for Titans football and the flagship for Titans radio. 104.5 The Zone.
Doherty, 3HL. I say that because he was apparently our videographer during the Tennessee Geography Bee. By the way, I hope, because we've gotten into this before. Is the music for the Tennessee Geography Bee going to be on the podcast, or am I going to have to pitch a fit?
It is.
Okay.
It's like old-timey game show music.
Okay, thank God.
Courtesy of Rhett Bryan.
Because that would sound terrible if not. I just wanted to make sure. Not that it's your fault. Damn lawyers. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved. No, I'm just kidding. But Brent has put up the video version of the Tennessee Geography Bee for all of those who wish to consume my shame via video as well, not just on the audio version of me embarrassing myself by not knowing, what was it, 14 out of the total, what did we have, 26 total cities and counties for me to guess?
25.
25?
Well, I guess 26. Yeah, 26.
Math is hard.
If you were 12, what's 12 plus 14?
That would be 26,
Okay.
bud. Tough day?
That's every day.
Why do we insist on doing math when we're so bad at math?
We do this so much.
Every time. 615-737-1045 is how you get in on the conversation. What we're going to talk about is we've spent some time on Ryan Tannehill as a system QB off the conversation Greg Cosell and I had on our new podcast today called The Install. Subscribe, rate, and review. I want to get into some stuff about the AFC South in particular because we've been so hyper-local, I feel like. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is local sports talk radio. But I feel like all that we have discussed is Titans, Vols, Preds. Like we haven't looked at what surrounds these teams very much at all. And I think that's a good thing, largely because the local teams have given us more stuff to talk about them than anything else. So it's not necessary for us to have to do that. But at a certain point, we have to look at the rest of the AFC South to see how these Titans stack up. Before we do that, though, I want to go to Truman in Nashville, who has won the most recent pair of tickets to hang out with us at the Nashville SC game on Saturday. Thank you, Truman, for calling in. We appreciate you being a listener to the show.
Hey, we appreciate the tickets. We appreciate you too, Buck, and your brutal honesty, man.
Brutal? I don't think Truman. What am I brutal about? You got to give me an example. What am I brutal about?
No, you've not been brutal towards me at all. But some of these people, they're kind of soft and they're taking it the hard way. You know.
Hey, listen, we can only what is it? The Titans say, "Iron sharpens iron." Can we slap that on? Can we slap that on a slogan here in the studio? Anyway, Truman, we're really excited to have you as a part of the crew going with us to the Nashville SC game on Saturday. We look forward to hanging out with you then, bud.
I look forward to you too, man. Happy birthday. It's going to be great to see how you're rolling there.
Thank you. How bad am I going to be once people start wishing me happy birthday, Lucas? Nobody should wish me a happy birthday anymore. I'm already being a princess about it.
That'll cheer you up if you're down in the dumps on Saturday.
That's all I want, honestly, is just people to tell me happy birthday. 615-737-1045. So before, though, we went to, okay, so there's a lot of things that are happening. We're also going to get into this Richard Sherman stuff here, too. But when we went to commercial break, Lucas had asked me exactly why Urban Meyer is being subpoenaed for what is going on with the Chris Doyle situation. If you're unfamiliar with Chris Doyle, he was fired at Iowa because he was accused of making racist statements to players during his time as a strength coach there. So Chris Doyle, too hot to handle, basically, for many reasons. Sounds like he's a bit of a bad person. But Urban Meyer doesn't bother him because Urban Meyer's known him 20 years. So when Urban Meyer announced his staff as the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars and Chris Doyle was on it, it was the first moment that I think Urban Meyer kind of got buried by the avalanche of public criticism. Now, does Urban actually care about this? Probably not. But when you talk about when you abruptly change your coaching staff because he put in his resignation after all of this became too hot to handle, Chris Doyle did, in Jacksonville. When you talk, or at least when Urban spoke publicly, on how long he has known Chris Doyle and what the conversations like with Chris Doyle were like, you open yourself up to the potential of being subpoenaed if Chris Doyle is to be investigated. That's exactly what's happened with not just Urban Meyer, but with Trent Baalke as well, who's been Trent Baalke, who is now the general manager of the Jacksonville Jags, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers. So what I'm looking at on Pro Football Talk is what the article they wrote is when Jags coach Urban Meyer abruptly changed his mind about hiring embattled is a nice way to put it, embattled strength coach Chris Doyle, Meyer explained that he didn't need the distraction of the hiring of Doyle, who is accused of making racist statements to players during his time as strength coach at Iowa. But Doyle may prove to be a distraction for Meyer anyway. Meyer and the Jags have been issued subpoenas for information related to the hiring and resignation of Doyle as a part of the racial discrimination lawsuit that 8 former Iowa players brought, according to Gary Smits of the Florida Times Union. The players say, quote, there was a racially hostile environment because of Doyle's conduct. Now the Jags will have to comply with the subpoena, but do not believe they have any information relevant to the Iowa players' lawsuit. So this is not a lawsuit to do specifically with the Jags and Chris Doyle. They are now being brought in to be questioned about a lawsuit with why Chris Doyle resigned at Iowa, if that makes any more sense. Lucas was asking about that before we went to commercial. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved. We're going to get into the AFC South here in just a second. First, let's go to Bam in Nashville. What's going on, Bam?
What's up, bro? How you feeling, man?
Man, I'm feeling better than I deserve.
Man, I wanted to tell you happy birthday, man. Thank you for staying loud and keeping us informed on everything that goes on in the sports world and arena.
Man, that's kind of you, Bam. Now, it's a bad time to tell you my birthday's not until Tuesday. I'm just being a diva about it.
But it's okay, though. I mean, hey, that means you starting early. You celebrating early. You know what? I tell you what. I'm going to invite you. I'm a musician. I invited Lucas out. I'm inviting you to July 31st. I'm going to be playing at Bourbon Street Boogie and Blues Bar. You come out, I'm going to buy you a drink.
Man, I don't know, Bam. I may have to buy you one as well. Lucas loves that spot. Thank you for the call. 615-737-1045.
Oh, yeah.
I have never been, but I will go with you.
The music there is always spot on.
Now,
And Bam's a drummer.
July 31st, that's in the middle of training camp.
It's a Saturday.
Well, I
night.
have practice on. Sunday's an off day for us.
Yep.
Based on what I understand. So we will be there, Bam. Thank you for the invite. 615-737-1045. So let's get into the AFC South. We went around the AFC South in today's episode of The Install with Greg Cosell. And we've talked about what Greg and I went into regarding Ryan Tannehill as a system quarterback. Now we look at the Jacksonville. Well, actually, let's start with the Colts because again, I saw something. I can't remember what betting outlet again had the Colts favored as the division. Oh no, it wasn't a betting outlet. Well, I guess Colin Cowherd is kind of a betting outlet, but Cowherd had the Colts winning the division, the Titans winning 9 games on a 17-game schedule, 17-game regular season schedule. And then the Jags and Texans finishing behind those two. Now, 9 wins in this expanded NFL regular season will likely not get you into the playoffs again with the way that they have also expanded the postseason for additional wild card teams. The Colts, though, there is no more important player in this division, or maybe not, let me say important, but let me say also impactful, depending on how good or how bad he might be. That player is Carson Wentz of the Indianapolis Colts, now of the Indianapolis Colts, after being the worst starting quarterback in football during the 2020 season. There were a lot of problems with the Eagles. Greg got into it yesterday with what exactly we're looking at in this new marriage between Wentz and Colts head coach Frank Reich.
Well, Carson Wentz was broken last year. I think he was broken physically, and I think he was broken a bit mentally. And it was very surprising because most would have said after the 2017 season that he was on his way to being a top 3 or 4 quarterback in this league. Wentz is an interesting player. You almost have to go back to North Dakota State when he played in college, because I remember watching his tape and I loved him coming out. I thought he was the best quarterback prospect in that draft. As many might recall, Goff went number 1 and Wentz number 2. But Wentz did a lot of work in college pre-snap at the line of scrimmage. He was very much a pre-snap quarterback. And keep in mind, his first 2 years in the league, they had Frank Reich as the offensive coordinator and John DeFilippo as the quarterback coach, both veteran NFL coaches who really understood the quarterback and the quarterback position. Both had worked with Phillip Rivers in San Diego. Then they both left. And then they had younger coaches, inexperienced coaches working with Wentz. And my sense is that Wentz is very much a quarterback that wants control pre-snap. He wants to control the game. I think he's capable of that. I don't know if that was the Doug Peterson approach. Just my sense from watching the film. Obviously I'm not there in their meetings and in their film room discussions, but my sense is there was a bit of push and pull between Doug's approach, which I don't want to say it's rigid. That would be the wrong word, but hey, here's the play, here's what we run. And Carson Wentz's approach, which is, hey, here's how I see the game, and let me play the game. And we'll see what happens in Indianapolis, because clearly he was broken last year in many ways.
Greg Cosell on today's edition of The Install, the new podcast that Greg and I will be doing every Wednesday moving forward for 104.5 The Zone's podcast network. So we got into that conversation because I brought up the Marcus Mariota comparison. It's one that I've made a lot with Carson Wentz, not because of, and both have dealt with various injuries over the course of their career, playing, I think, a large part in why their powers devolved from, in the case of Wentz, an MVP candidate who, I think they probably would have won the Super Bowl if Carson Wentz had started, even though Nick Foles is the quarterback who actually won the Super Bowl for the Eagles that year. But what Greg is saying about control for the quarterback kind of bucks against the trend that we're talking about with Ryan Tannehill, where Ryan Tannehill is executing the system that he is being asked to execute. He's bought in, right? One of the oldest cliches in sports. Have the players bought into the system? Has the coach and the staff bought into the system or the culture or whatever it is in sports that you're buying into? Carson Wentz in Philadelphia sounds like there was no buy-in. And the way that things frayed, where Doug Peterson, who has a statue built to him outside of the Eagles Stadium right now for the Super Bowl that he won, is 3 years later, no longer the Philadelphia Eagles head coach, because there was friction between general manager, coach, quarterback, and they had given Carson Wentz probably more say in things, which is why you see organizations like the Packers or even the Texans with Deshaun Watson. Now the Texans with Deshaun Watson has turned into a much different situation because of the legal implications, but players who would like input, Russell Wilson, talking about, going on Dan Patrick and talking about how he didn't like how much he was getting how much he's been hit over the course of his career. And he would like some input on what the team is doing from a planning standpoint around him. This is why organizations are hesitant to and fear giving players this kind of say, because they can turn into Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz turns into a malcontent that can cause issues within the locker room. Now, our friend Teron Davenport at ESPN, Teron covered that Philadelphia Eagles team and said that there were very clear signs that Wentz was and in a conversation that I've had with Teron off air, but one that, he wrote a book about Carson Wentz, so this is no, I'm not betraying any trust by talking about this, about a conversation that Teron and I had. But with Carson Wentz, there were very clear signs that he was not going to operate within the system if he thought that he was capable of doing something better. Now, the relationship with Frank Reich is supposed to be quite strong. They're both very faith-based, which may not sound like it matters in the grand scheme of football, but for players and people who do share that bond, it can have a big impact on how much you're willing to listen to somebody who is of like-minded principles as you. This is something that Carson Wentz and Frank Reich shared in Indianapolis. And the fact that having worked with him before, he will, one would assume, have that buy-in going in. Now, how things change for Indianapolis are interesting, because not only are they getting Carson Wentz, they're losing a critical player to the best part of that team last year, a team that made the playoffs, a team whose defense was among the best, and during a large portion of the season, was the best in the sport. The Indianapolis Colts defense took a big hit when the Titans signed Danico Autry away from them. Danico Autry makes an already good player, an already great player, into DeForest Buckner that much better. Danico Autry is going to have the same impact for a guy like Jeffrey Simmons here in Tennessee. It's why John Robinson did that 3-year deal. Now, elsewhere in the AFC South, we looked at the Jacksonville Jaguars because you have, of course, this is one of the most interesting divisions in football. And honestly, the Titans probably the least interesting storylines among them, given what lies in Jacksonville with Urban in the first overall pick in Trevor Lawrence. Not even the Tebow sideshow freak show. What's happening with Carson Wentz in Indianapolis will draw a great amount of attention. And, of course, the Texans being a train wreck has been one of the biggest storylines in the sport all offseason. But when Greg and I talked yesterday, when we taped it yesterday, you'll hear it today in the podcast, and we went into it greater length, is Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville and what the best way to maximize a rookie quarterback is, given the success that we've seen somebody like Justin Herbert have in his rookie year.
Let me turn this around, because there have been studies done that show, and these are the the analytic studies that are done.
Sure.
That show that rookie quarterbacks, no matter where they're drafted, have success based on the quality of the team around them. And again, without, I'm sure there's lengthy spreadsheets done about this kind of stuff, Buck. I don't have all that right in front of me, obviously, but Trevor Lawrence is in an interesting situation because this is not a very good defense, and it wasn't last year, and we don't know what it'll be this year. They've made some changes. They probably feel pretty good about their corners, getting Shaq Griffin from Seattle in free agency, C.J. Henderson, a high pick going into his second year. They probably feel they're improved. But if Trevor Lawrence is forced by choice to throw the ball 35, 40 times a game, studies show that is a recipe for disaster for a rookie quarterback. So we can sit here and talk about their weapons, and they have weapons, no question. They signed Marvin Jones. They drafted Travis Etienne, who's incredibly explosive. They still have Chark. They still have Chenault. It's an offensive line that has been together, hasn't quite gelled yet, but has been together. So, we're not certain here because this defense could be the deciding factor.
Right.
When your quarterback has to drop back 35, 40 times a game, number one, he's not mentally ready to do that in the NFL, no matter how smart he may be, and he's going to get hit more. And those hits accumulate, Buck, and they're problematic.
Greg Cosell talking about the best way to protect Trevor Lawrence from having to overextend himself in his rookie year. The Jags defense sucked last year. The Titans were not the only team in this division with a bad defense. The Jags are not the Jags of old where you're talking about Jalen Ramsey and Yannick Ngakoue, or Yannick Ngakoue. I should probably pronounce it correctly given all the trouble Stephen A. Smith just got into.
And how much we've been ripping him.
Well, yeah, that's that too. Little bit of self-awareness.
But does what he said, the accumulation, that being the concern, does that make you think of Andrew Luck?
The accumulation of hits?
Yes.
Oh, of course. I mean, look at it this way. And I feel like I've made this point before, but there are so many more quarterbacks that have been ruined in professional football than have been developed. The brother of Derek Carr, whose name escapes me right now, formerly of the Houston Texans, now an NFL Network pundit.
It was another D name, right?
It's
like
another
David Carr.
David Carr, I think, is correct. Brent Doherty giving us the thumbs up.
Confirmed.
Sidekick today. David Carr ruined with the Houston Texans organization as an expansion franchise because he got the holy hell beat out of him. Got buried. Marcus Mariota got hit as much as any other quarterback in the sport the year that he experienced nerve damage, which saw that situation spiral out of control for him. Now, he's been able to rebound and continues to make a living as a backup quarterback. We don't know how much higher the ceiling of Marcus could have been. And, of course, the fractured tibia comes into play as well. Marcus, at the end, was not what we saw in his rookie year and his sophomore year when he was playing very high-level football, when we looked at that situation and thought that there was a great deal of promise. And there may have been. Carson Wentz, an MVP candidate at one point, playing high-level football. Greg Cosell called him the most talented prospect out of that draft class, which, of course, it was Goff and Wentz at the top. Goff went to a Super Bowl. Wentz could have gone to a Super Bowl and technically did, but not on the strength of his own play because of the injuries that he sustained for the Eagles making that postseason run. Of course I would be concerned about Trevor Lawrence, but I'm less concerned because what they have around him, their offensive line is not overwhelmingly good, but they've been together for a long time. That matters. Their running game is something that I think should take a step forward from the Robinson who's the running back, not the Cam Robinson who's the left tackle for the Jacksonville Jags. Not Allen Robinson, who plays for the Bears. This is going to drive me crazy. James Robinson, I believe, is the running back for the Jacksonville Jags, who was the undrafted rookie free agent last year.
One of the biggest surprises of the 2020 season.
Well, it counted for all of one win, so how surprising could it be?
He was good, though.
He was good. And Travis Etienne being a part of that mix, I think that's going to make their lives a lot easier to where you're not putting a great deal of pressure on Trevor Lawrence. Even if they're going to get down in games, he's going to be asked to throw 30, 35, 40 passes in a game at some point. It's unavoidable because they're going to want it. They're going to push, right? They're going to see how much he can do. But the strength of that team will be running game and defense by means of protecting their quarterback. Now, another point that Greg Cosell, before we wrap up this show, made that I want to make sure we get to before we wrap up the show with the polls, which I think this may be the fastest show that we've ever done. Today flew by. But a point he made about the Houston Texans, because I and everybody listening to this show or streaming this show or consuming NFL media at all largely looks at the Houston Texans heading into 2021 and thinks of them as an outright laughing stock. What they have done to try and cobble together a team as a laughing stock. Greg made a great point on the podcast today about what he sees them doing and compared it to something like the Baltimore Ravens. Listen in.
Let's assume it's Tyrod Taylor. If it's not Deshaun, so for the purposes of our discussion today, Buck, let's assume it's Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
He's not Lamar Jackson, but I think you would see a lot of similar principles. Okay, don't forget, they now have Mark Ingram, who was in Baltimore and understands a lot of those principles. They have David Johnson. They've got Philip Lindsay. They've got Rex Burkhead. They've got a lot of backs who can do different things. So, I don't want people to think that I'm saying that, it's the same offense. It's Lamar Jackson. Boy, Tyrod Taylor, he's great. No, the point is not that. The point is the philosophy and structure of the offense. And I think you would see some of the same principles. Now, again, they're a team that will really want to try to control the football as much as they can because defensively, they've got some question marks. So this is not a team that wants their defense on the field for a lot of snaps because, as I said, they still got some good players. They've got some young players who I think they feel good about, like Charles Omenihu, Ross Blaylock, a second-round pick a year ago. I think that other than Bradley Roby, the corner position is a little bit of a question mark. So, they've got some questions. So defense is a definite concern. And, look, there are going to be games. It's just the way it is, where they're down 14-0, 17-0, and it's going to be real tough for them to compete. But they're going to have a specific approach, a specific plan, and they hope they can compete with that plan.
I'm laughing because my phone went off in the middle of that. Greg Cosell's exceptional analysis. The podcast is called The Install with Greg Cosell. Be in your podcast feeds every Wednesday. The AFC South Preview available to you now. When we come back, we wrap up the fastest show in the history of this show with some polls. I'm Buck Rising, and this is 104.5 The Zone.
Titans football, the passion that unites us all. Your home for Titans football and the flagship of Titans radio, 104.5 The Zone.
as is the custom. Be back to do it one more time tomorrow when the great one, Coach Mack, who is traveling. It's good. Honestly, I almost feel like, Lucas, we should have given Mack the day off. It sounds like he's on vacation, but we always appreciate his insights around here.
Visiting some family.
Where? In Texas?
He was in Texas when he joined Blaine and Mickey Tuesday.
Oh, so he's on the road. On the road with Coach Mack.
He's everywhere.
Always. He will join us tomorrow at 12:20 Central Time, and we will get into a lot of what a little more detail on, well, a lot about Jeff Fisher and Floyd Reese, certainly, and Bum Phillips, because Mack is not only an incredible asset about the game of football, but the history of the game of football. And I know he killed it yesterday with 3HL. They had Coach Fisher on with Mack, which I'm sure was great fun. And they did a great job with that. But we will enjoy our time with Mack tomorrow. In the meantime, polls.
I don't know who you are, but I know what it's time for. A poll update on the Buck Rising Show. Here's a young man with a very particular set of skills. With the final numbers, here's Buck Rising Show correspondent and producer, Lucas Panzica.
Thank you, Liam.
Is Ryan Tannehill a system quarterback? Yes or no? 67% say no. And we're probably very offended that you asked.
67% of people don't understand what we're saying there. And that was done intentionally. Because the internet is triggered by words like system quarterback and game manager, when that's what all quarterbacks are asked to be. We played you Greg Cosell's explanation of that earlier in the show. Also, because Dawn Davenport is texting me, harassing me, even though I've already said that Greg Cosell is going to be on the zone today at 4:20, Dawn. Greg Cosell joins 3HL every Thursday at 4:20. You're welcome.
Some nuanced replies in here. Corey V says, yes, I'd say so. He is a system quarterback. I'd also say being a system quarterback isn't a bad thing. Nothing wrong with having a specialty like a certain offensive scheme. System plays a big role in most players across all sports.
Thank you. That's an exceedingly reasonable response for Twitter.
And how about Derrick Henry's stiff arm? Tannehill is a system QB, but that shouldn't be looked at as a bad word. He's still a great player, still without a doubt, top 10, thrives off a strong run game and play action.
This is why we love our people. They do a great job. Okay, what else?
Are you surprised the Bucks have made the NBA Finals a 2-2 series? 66% are not surprised.
I mean, I probably shouldn't be. But I am. Giannis should not be doing the things that he's doing on one knee, basically. Much less for the Suns to for the Bucks to be able to weather a 42-point outing by Devin Booker yesterday. I am a little surprised. The Suns were clearly the better team in the first two games, and I don't think that they're still not the better team. I didn't expect a sweep or anything like that, but to see them even up the series has been good because that'll keep me interested in.
What is the funniest pronunciation of a Tennessee town? Angela Morian, who I believe does television over in Chattanooga, says real Chattanoogans call it Chattanooga. Don't come here pronouncing the T's.
So Chattanooga.
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 That's right.
Okay. No T's in Tennessee.
Bart Barker says Murfreesboro is referred to many times as Murfreesboro.
No. Really?
Shelbyville or Shivel.
Yeah, that's that one. I mean, it sounds like you're saying shovel.
Goodlettsville or Goodlettsville.
I mean, the Vol.
Goodlettsville.
The Vol I get.
You don't pronounce the D there. Goodlettsville.
Goodlettsville. We're against D's and T's in Tennessee.
I believe so.
And Vol.
We will not stand for them.
Ville. Can't do it. No, by far and away, the Tennessee geography be an hour two. If you missed that, it's well worth your time to go back and listen to the podcast.
And shout out V-Love for the idea a few months ago.
Did he get? He's such a good. I mean, I'm gonna have to start paying him.
He tweeted that at us like in March when you mispronounced Smyrna, and we kind of bookmarked it, and we did it today.
Genius, the genius of V-Love. It's got to be Salina for me, spelled Celine. that to me is the most ridiculous.
What percentage of for me it's Santa Fe, by the way.
Oh my God, Santa.
With no offense to the great people from Santa Fe.
We are not dismissing the cities themselves. We love all of the people and places that listen to us across Tennessee. I'm merely marveling at the way that these places are pronounced.
Someone in the chat, I believe it was Buck Rising's checkmark, who will be with us at the soccer game on Saturday, chimed in and said you should check out Mississippi. They were wilding down there.
No, I bet. That I'm certain of.
What percentage of the Tennessee geography bee did we think Buck would get right? Nobody has faith. 46% said you would only get 10% right.
Yeah.
31% said you would only get 20% right. 20% said you would get 25% right. And only 3% thought you would get at least half right. You got 46% correct.
Look at me, defying the odds. I should probably be a lot better than that, but I'll take the 46%.
Which Tennessee Titan that did not play for the Houston Oilers deserves to be in the Ring of Honor? Mike Herndon says Casey, I believe he means Jarrell Casey.
Yeah.
CJ 2K and Delaney Walker.
No, I think those are fair. I mean, Delaney Walker's the best free agent signing in the history of the history of the franchise. I'm comfortable saying that. I think Delaney belongs among those names. But, I mean, the two that are the most egregious, I think, that are not yet in there that I'm sure will be at some point. Javon Curse and Mr. Monday Night himself, Keith Bullock.
I like this from M. Woods. Michael Roos. This is the name I brought up to Rhett Bryan yesterday.
Michael Roos, who I'm sure was not a fan of Taylor Lewan when Taylor Lewan was drafted here and Michael Roos was still starting.
What is one thing you would upgrade at Nissan Stadium? Puka says overhang canopies, a skywalk between the upper section, and transport for handicap. Puka, ready to go.
Well, Puka is I will not say old, but advanced in age. And so these are things that they need to do to make the experience better for those who would attend the games in that demographic. They also, Death to the Dollhouses is the campaign that we are on, and an awning over the stand so people don't roast to death basically until November.
For me, it's food, right? Because like AJ says, local food options like Hattie B's, Prince's, Loveless. Like for me, like I get so sick of just stadium hot dogs and burgers and chicken tenders. I want local food in our stadiums like several have around the country.
They have a cutting board in the press box. It's going to make me sound like a D-bag that way. I did it myself. We had so much fun today. Check out the podcast, The Buck Rising Show. Check out the new podcast, The Install. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Blaine and Mickey, 3HL, going to kill it later as well. I'll see you tomorrow.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
Coming up tomorrow morning.
Thanks to author John Finkel, Eric Kane, and the Hall of Famer Teresa Walker for joining Thursday's show.
Fam, if you missed any of those conversations, check out the podcast.
That's right, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your audio, rate, review, and subscribe.
On Friday, our friend Trey Wallace joins us from Rocky Top.
And the VOT, Mike Keith, will talk about the Titans' Ring of Honor. We're J. Mart and Ramon.
Tomorrow morning from 6 to 10 a.m. on